Hello there everybody and welcome to the complete guide to Muscle Band. I'll be going over Muscle Band, I'll be showing you how to properly use Muscle Band and the strengths and weaknesses of Muscle Band and a little bit of practice. And then I'm going to go ahead and show you the tiered, how Muscle Band acts on every Pokemon tiered from best to worst. So let's go ahead and get through that. First of all, Muscle Band, I have that up level 30. I use a Super Enhancer for it. I think it's totally worth it for something like Muscle Band. When basic attacks hit, the damage is increased by 30% of the opposing Pokemon's remaining HP, attack plus 15, basic attack speed plus 7.5. So basically, the really big thing that you need to know here is that your basic attack damage is increased by 3% of the opposing Pokemon's remaining HP. So what that means is that you're going to be doing a lot of damage at their beginning of their health pool. As they get lower, Muscle Band's going to do less and less work for you. This is not a finisher. This is not a one-shot kind of ability here, an item. This is for Pokemon who benefit by getting a lot of damage over a long period of time on a lot of different Pokemon during a team fight. Something like a Cinderace can make a lot of use out of this. So that's something that you really definitely want to keep in mind. The other thing to keep in mind with Muscle Band is that the basic attack speed. The additional basic attack speed is huge. Basic attack speed is a lot of value in Pokemon Unite. Plus 7.5 is a significant amount. The reason why I think it's definitely worth leveling this up to 30, for me at least, is that you go from plus 10 attack to plus 15 attack, not a big deal, but plus 5% attack speed to plus 7.5% attack speed. You get an additional 2.5 attack speed from going from 20 to 30. I think that for a lot of the Pokemon that I use Muscle Band on, that is totally worth it. Especially over the period of time in which you're going to be using Muscle Band. So, yes, Muscle Band, great ability, definitely an item that I think you should consider leveling up. Let's go ahead and show you the specifics and the kind of ins and outs of Muscle Band. Alrighty, here we are. We're just going to go ahead and just kind of clear real quick, just to get my hands warmed up, ready to go. Okay, so the basic thing that we're going to be doing right now is showing you the damage using this substitute doll right here. And so our goal is just to show you how damage kind of changes with Muscle Band over time as a percentage of your total, as well as how much damage it actually throws out. So one auto attack right there. You'll see our basic attack damage was 155. Our move damage was 360. Total damage 515. That move damage is the Muscle Band. Watch the hit carefully. You'll see the two things ticked, 155 and 360. We'll do it again. 155, 360. Okay, so what is that? Yeah, that is your Muscle Band. 360 damage is being done by the Muscle Band. Something to keep in mind with this substitute doll, though, is that he has really, really low defense and special defense stats. So it's a little bit weird when you're using this against substitute doll, but it gives you a good standard, a good idea. Let's go ahead and use it on a crab so you can kind of see the difference here. It looks like about 112, closer to 112 is what we're looking at right there. 146 maybe, a little crit there. It's hard to see because I believe, I don't know if it always is, but I believe it's that first number that comes up and then it's kind of shadowed by the second number. So it looks like it's like 112 or something. But what my point is, it's a significant amount of damage. At this level, it's about half of your damage is coming from one item. And that's a lot of damage for something like an auto attack based Pokemon. Any Pokemon that's going to be using a lot of autos can get some serious benefit from Muscle Band, including some that you may not think of. We're going to talk about that soon. We're going to level this up now. The other thing to really keep in mind, of course, is that your Muscle Band does scale with the amount of health that the enemy has, right? The amount of total remaining health that the enemy has. Well, in a case like this, you might have something where a boss, this guy's going to have a lot more health than, he also has other stats, but he also has a lot more health than some of the other guys does. So you kind of scale really well into objectives. Anything with more health, like Zapdos, like Dreadnought, you're doing additional damage than you would to another softer, squishier Pokemon because of the total amount of percentage health damage that you do. That will scale down, like I said, as the Pokemon has less and less health. In theory, you're doing less and less damage to them because how Muscle Band works is it's the percentage of their remaining health, right? But you're still doing a lot of damage, and that's what makes this item so valuable for auto attack based Pokemon. You ready? Let's hit. 360 damage was the move damage. Base attack damage 433. at level 15 with one non-crit auto attack, I'm doing basically more damage with my Muscle Band, almost as much damage as I am with my basic attack. Pretty valuable. Cool. Let's go ahead and get into which Pokemon you should be using Muscle Band on. All right, let's go through here and determine who benefits the most from a Muscle Band. Venusaur. Venusaur is a special attacker, so clearly doesn't get a lot of use from the attack. But that's not the case at all with Muscle Band. Venusaur spends a lot of time basic attacking. In fact, a ton of damage is done, especially with a Petal Dance Venusaur, while you're running around basic attacking with your Petal Dance up. Venusaur actually gets a huge amount of value from Muscle Band. It's not the most amount of value in the game, which is why I'm not going to give it S tier. But Venusaur, Muscle Band, yeah, actually really good. Even with a lower than normal amount of attack as a stat, the main key component of Muscle Band isn't that it scales off your attack. It's that it does a percentage of their remaining health. And that, for something like a Venusaur that loves high attack speed and attacks a ton, and does a lot of time running around auto-attacking, pulling people, including multiple people in, a huge item for Venusaur. Definitely very usable. Gengar, not very usable. I don't know if I wouldn't say it's the worst here with Gengar, but it doesn't scale particularly well. The truth is, Muscle Band's pretty decent on most Pokemon. Gengar is one of the ones that it's not as decent on. Mr. Mime, I would put Mr. Mime here in a D tier. Mr. Mime doesn't really benefit much from the attack speed. He doesn't spend a lot of time attacking, especially when he's on his ultimate or anything like that. He just doesn't do a lot of auto attacking. Because of that reason, I would put him here at the very bottom. Snorlax actually gets a lot of value from Muscle Band, but it's a particular build you have to go if you're going to be running Muscle Band. That makes me want to put him in A or B. It's kind of like if you're going for that heavy hitter bruiser, then Muscle Band's really good on Snorlax and you almost have to have it. But if you're going for a tank build, you really don't want Muscle Band. I'm going to go ahead and put it in A tier because I do think that with a particular build, he gets a lot of use out of Muscle Band. Gardevoir, that's going to be a D tier. Gardevoir doesn't really use auto attacks and shouldn't really be focusing on using auto attacks. It can get you in some trouble. Absol, S tier here for Absol. One of the best items for Absol to have. Absol does a lot of auto attacks. There's some other S tier items for Absol as well, such as a Razor Claw, Scope Lens, stuff like that. But indeed, Absol, I would say S tier for Muscle Band. Okay, Gardevoir, or Garchomp. This is a bit of a tough one. Garchomp is a big multi-hitter auto-attacking Pokemon. It makes me kind of feel like maybe he belongs in an A tier. I wouldn't put him in S, I don't think. He does do a lot of damage with his attacks, but I personally think that I like to build a more bruiser-based Garchomp. I'm going to put it into B here. I think it's a really good item. It definitely depends on your build, but what I have noticed for me personally with Garchomp is that it's almost more of damage. It's almost like the abilities is what I do most of my damage up with while playing Garchomp, and then I take some tankiness, and that's really how I like to play. I don't really like to play a full attack Garchomp. I think you die too quickly, and really for Garchomp, it feels to me like your abilities are what's doing the damage, not your auto attack. So I would put him right about there. Lucario is definitely S tier or A tier. Let's go ahead and say, oh, it's kind of tough. I'm gonna put him in S tier. He has some other stuff he really likes though, which is why I kind of hesitate to necessarily lock into S tier here. He also likes stuff like attack weight and score shield and stuff like that. So S or A, I could go almost any way, but I'll put it here in S tier. So Cramorant actually gets a lot of value out of this one. It's a little bit goofy. You feel like, oh, he's a tank, and you want to put it down here, but he actually has a decent auto attack speed, and he does a decent amount of damage. I'm going to go ahead and put him into a C tier here in this case, because I do believe that tanks over this meta have become more based on tanks and less based on gimmicks. And when you compare him to somebody like a Snorlax, who's also a tank, quote-unquote, I do think that it's way more useful for a Snorlax than I do a Cramorant. So I'm going to put that there. Greninja, 100%. Way up there. Way up there for Greninja. Very useful. S tier for sure. Does a lot of damage. Greninja is a little bit more based upon burst than like a Cinderace would be. this item scales specifically extra well with people who have a little bit more of a sustained damage potential to them. But it's still very useful for anybody who has high levels of attack speeds and rotates in a lot of auto attacks. Somebody like an Absol. As I talk more, I almost want to pull this guy down, but we won't for now. We'll keep thinking about it as we go through. Talonflame. Talonflame is a good question. This is a useful item on Talonflame. Talonflame does a lot of auto attacking. I'm putting it into an A tier here. I'm not going to put it into an S tier because Talonflame, I think, has some other really good options as well. Talonflame is more bursty in my opinion than an Absol is. It does kind of depend on how you play them, but Talonflame uses more abilities and Absol uses more auto attacks. That's why in this situation I'm going to put Absol into an S tier here. Muscle Band procs off of auto attacks, not abilities. Speaking of proccing off of auto attacks, not abilities, let's put Charizard right here into an A tier. And you may be surprised with that, because Charizard, it's like, wait a second, Charizard has a really strange way of auto-attacking. His auto-attack is over time. Yes, that's true. But Charizard is fundamentally about burning down people's health, including multiple opponents' health while in his ultimate, his Unite ability. And for that reason, I think he gets a lot of value out of Muscle Band. Muscle Band actually pretty darn good on Charizard. It's one of my go-tos. The other thing that I like to go to with Charizard is Weakness Policy, which gives you a little bit of tank ability, which he does kind of need, in addition to a good amount of scaling attack, which, again, scales with his basic attack. So he's a big basic attacker. You spend almost all your time basic attacking when you're fighting with the Charizard. You're just spamming it, and it's basically on cooldown all the time. It could be a B tier, but I'm going to keep him in A tier here. Zayora. I love Zayora with a Muscle Band. Some people don't, but I definitely do. I think that we're in a situation where there's a lot of high health Pokemon in the game, and I think that Muscle Band scales really nicely with Zayora in that. The other things you like to consider for Zayora, of course, though, are Razor Claw and Scope Lens. You want to be critting with Zayora, and Muscle Band doesn't help you crit. That's why a lot of people don't use it for like an Absol or Zayora, but I think it really needs to be there. I think it absolutely is there for them. Let's go ahead. Cinderace. Cinderace S tier easily S tier. One of the best Pokemon I think in the game to have a Muscle Band on. All right, Eldegoss. Obviously D tier, right? B tier. Now don't yell. Don't downvote. Don't unsubscribe. There's a reason for this. This is actually my favorite build on Eldegoss, includes Muscle Band. And the reason why is, think back to when you're playing Eldegoss. What do you spend 99% of your time doing? Auto-attacking. Auto-attacking the enemy Pokemon. You even have a pretty decent boosted special attack that has a slow potential to it. And a little bit of an explosion. So the attack speed and the extra damage on hit, again, that damage on hit does not scale with your attack. It scales with their remaining health. In lane, Musclegoss is one of the best ways of playing Eldegoss, in this YouTuber's humble opinion. I think that 100% I'd put it in B tier. You got to be thinking about not just do they attack, it's or do they scale with attack, it's do they attack a lot. These two here, they don't attack a lot. Crustle does, which is why I thought about putting him in B tier, but really nowadays we're building him more with tank items, and we kind of have to. Gengar doesn't do as much auto attacking as these guys do. Venusaur, we said, does a ton of auto attacking, so I'm putting Eldegoss here solidly in B tier. Cramorant, no. Cramorant's all about abilities. Blastoise. Blastoise gets a lot of value actually from a Muscle Band. He does a lot of auto attacking. It kind of works in some weird ways with his spin, but most people don't go spin anymore, and they focus on using him as a basically altering out his hydro pump with auto attacks. So I think that between A and B tier, you know what? I'm gonna put him in B tier only because I do believe we're still building tanks more tanky than we used to, and so I'll put it in B tier here. But the point is, using a Muscle Band on a Blastoise, anybody B tier up, I think you could absolutely use it on, situationally. Anybody C tier down, I don't think I would use it on. Actually, people really liked putting it on Pikachu, but this is my ranking list right here. I'm going to put it into C tier. I think that there's better items for Pikachu, but I have definitely seen people go very aggressive lane chew and building a Muscle Band, Pikachu actually has a pretty darn decent boosted special attack. So I could totally imagine you guys using a Muscle Band here. I just think that it's a bit situational for me, and I'd probably pick other things. I would probably go for the Unite ability move set for a Pikachu rather than a high auto attack kind of move. His Unite ability in a team fight is very, very valuable, and he gets a lot of burst damage as well, which makes Muscle Band a little bit less useful for me. What is this guy doing here? Clefairy? You're not in this game. For that, you get D tier. Ninetales. Ninetales is going to be C or D tier. I'm going to put him in D tier here. Ninetales does get some value out of auto attacks. In particular, the attack speed would be decent for Ninetales. Again, Muscle Band kind of scales well in the lane. For non-attack auto attack based Pokemon, it scales nicely in the lane. Somebody like a support Ninetales could get some value out of this, but I really don't think that I would put it there. I'd put him in D tier here. Wigglytuff, I have done full attack Wigglytuff builds before, and it's hilarious, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in a D tier here for Wigglytuff. I think that there's too many better things out there for you, and it doesn't scale off of your double slap, which is where most of your DPS comes from in Wigglytuff anymore, is double slap or crits with your gleaming, your Dazzling Gleam. And so I don't think that it benefits you in any way here for Wigglytuff. I wouldn't bring it here in Wigglytuff. Slowbro. Slowbro has a decent auto attack range, decent auto attack speed, and can definitely make some use out of a Muscle Band. But there's better stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and put in D tier here. I played a lot of Slowbro this last ranked season 2. I got up to Masters. Slowbro was my tank for this because of his lockdown potential. I never once used Muscle Band. I never once thought I wanted to use Muscle Band. Let's go into Machamp, though. Machamp is an A tier, S tier to A tier right here for Muscle Band. I can see it either way. Personally, I love Muscle Band on Machamp. You do a lot of attacking. You have a huge attack speed. Benefiting that with some extra attack speed and some damage on your attack is a brilliant move and should absolutely be considered. So there you go. And now, Blissey. Support, clearly D tier. I'm going to put in C tier here. Don't do it, guys, but there's a really fun Blissey build that is auto attack based using Helping Hands to make you attack really fast and do lots of extra damage on hit. It's not very good, but Blissey does a lot more auto attacking than a Wigglytuff does, and I think can get some benefit, especially using your own skill up, which is Helping Hand. If you think about it, whenever you're playing Blissey and you pop your Helping Hand, you're typically auto attacking as well during that period of time. In addition, a lot of people use the auto attack from Blissey to try steals in the late game, and this is one of those things that an extra 3% of the remaining health, there's a minimum in there somewhere, is definitely a valuable thing to do. So I think that Blissey here, C tier, is reasonable. I wouldn't use it, but there's situations where you could use it. So Mamoswine, S tier. Nah, this is going to be a C tier. There's a build with it. Again, I would put it probably in a B tier. I actually like auto attacking on Mamoswine. I do a lot of auto attacking on Mamoswine. But you're using your abilities more on Mamoswine than you are on somebody like a Blastoise or Snorlax. About the same right now with Cramorant. You're about using your auto attacks about the same amount of frequency. And because of the fact that even though Muscle Band is such a great item overall, and I think a lot of these guys would still benefit from it, I think there's just better options right there for a lot of them. Sylveon, never in a million years. There's a build where you're using a Fairy Fire instead of Hyper Voice, but you're a goofball if you do that, in my opinion. Typically, Hyper Voice is your best build no matter what, and with that, you're not doing any auto attacking during that time. This is a fundamentally useless item here for you. And I'm going to put the same with Greedent. Greedent, I'm going to put in D tier here. Greedent does not do a lot of auto attacking. Greedent focuses primarily on using his abilities and kind of comboing them. Bullet Seed does not scale with this. And so Greedent here is going to be in D tier for Muscle Band. Decidueye. This is an S tier, and I think it's underused. People right now some people are Decidueye is not very good. That's number one to say, okay? Should have been strong, should have been overpowered, because the kit is a really good idea for a kit, but lacks the tank ability necessary to actually do the damage required to sit in the middle like that. That being said, Decidueye does a lot of auto attacking, and his auto attacking scales up with speed very nicely. A little bit like a Charizard, he benefits a lot from a high auto attack speed, and that extra percentage damage is really, really good. So I think that because he's kind of weak in general, you might say that there's other better builds and put him in an A tier. But I really think that the best build right here for Decidueye is not going for Spirit Shackle ever, because it doesn't do a lot of DPS over time. It's fun, but it's crappy DPS. And instead going for a full on-hit auto attack build. I think on-hit auto attack is the best you can do with Decidueye, due to his ability to hit multiple targets and targets multiple times with the basic attack, and kind of his attack scales up as he's attacking, which makes that attack speed even more valuable as you're starting your ramp up. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it, the very beautiful, wonderful Muscle Band tier list. Who should you absolutely be considering it on? That'd be Absol, Lucario, Greninja, Zayora, Cinderace, Machamp, and Decidueye. Probably should, in a lot of cases, you're going to have it on a Venusaur, a Snorlax, a Talonflame, a Charizard. You may want it on a Garchomp, a Eldegoss, and a Blastoise. You probably don't want it on a Gengar, a Cramorant, a Pikachu, a Blissey, or a Mamoswine. And please don't put it on a Mr. Mime, a Gardevoir, why can't I never remember this dude's name? Is he Cramorant? And the other guy's Crustle. My bad. Have I done this whole video? Oh my goodness. Cramorant, Crustle. This person's not in the game right now. You don't want it on a Ninetales. You don't want it on a Wigglytuff. You don't want it on a Slowbro. You don't want it for sure on a Sylveon. And you definitely don't want it on a Greedent. There you go. Hopefully you guys learned something about Muscle Band. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.